The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing. Here's your host, Matt Hansen.
We're going to wait for Jim to put his headset on, so we'll have to count down again.
Yes. Are we live?
Yeah.
We are live?
We're not live. We're recording.
Are we live on the air?
No.
I don't hear myself. There you go. Hela karmash moro fidi marahara.
We're not live on there, so it's not a big deal at all.
All right, so let me get my notes.
That's why I
here.
started counting down.
Do
He
you
was trying
see-
to show me pictures.
Do you see
of
in
kids.
our new, or we're trying to become a business that operates reasonably efficiently.
Yeah.
Now we have a filing system.
Oh.
See, I got a Mastering Local Marketing file. I got the other podcast I just did before it,
That's
Limb
fancy.
Walkers. I got my own file for my show and my other podcasts. I like doing podcasts.
Here,
like
let
that.
me ask you. Is the file going to end up where the seat cushion ends up disappearing?
They all reappeared, by the way. I don't know if people took them home and then said Jed was so upset about it. But the seat cushions, I'm like, who would steal? I literally was here one Saturday. I go, well, I might as well just clean. And we have these big, ultra-modern studios. And I looked everywhere. And then I come in on Monday morning and my seat cushion's sitting there.
Uh-huh.
So I guarantee it was like a passive-aggressive. They're probably snickering in the background.
They're taking it to every sporting event they got to go to. That's where they.
You know what? That's probably. You know what? You just figured it out because we had done a bunch of games that weekend. They took it with them to the.
That's where all seven of them have gone.
He's Matt Hansen. I'm Jim Delo. This is Mastering Local Marketing podcast, recorded from the beautiful Jed TV WJOB studios in Hammond, Indiana, on the campus of Purdue Northwest. This is one I am running into a little bit with our business, and we stream sporting events, and there are folks that are asking us, well, we don't want this game streamed here, we don't want it streamed there, and so we're learning a little bit about geofencing, but I don't want to turn everybody, the small, the local person, man or woman, whatever, that owns a business or runs a marketing department off by just throwing that word off there. But it's becoming more and more that you probably should have some exposure to geofencing.
Right. Yeah. So geofencing in terms, let's think of it in terms of advertising, right? So you've got social that you can go out there and you can drop pins and, target certain cities and all these different things. We have programmatic display and video that you can go out there and literally draw lines around locations. And what I want to say is Jim is sitting in a chair right now that
on a seat cushion. That's
on a
mine.
seat cushion that is yours. But I could target Jim in this seat right now, and he would be the only one that would see the ad in this studio for the next 15 to 30 days. So that's how good we've gotten, right? But what we're going to talk about today is how companies can use geofencing. And all it is basically just putting this imaginary border around a location and then dropping your ad on top of that. Okay, so think of it in terms of I walk into your backyard, right? Let's say you have a fenced-in backyard. I walk into your backyard for the 4th of July, and then I leave and I go home. For the next 15, 30, whatever, how many days you want it set, I can then target you because your phone has gone into that geofence, into that fenced-in backyard, and then walked out. So now I know you went there and you've left. And now I can actually target you with ads continuously for X number of days.
I remember when you brought this to me a few years ago. Do you remember this conversation?
I think you said that's crazy, but yeah, go ahead.
And I still have huge privacy concerns about me personally, but I also realize that this is one of the more efficient tactics that you have to use as a marketer.
Right.
And you brought it to me, and you were so excited about these new geofencing techniques. You're like, if that car driving down the road right now just came by us, I could put an ad on that phone for 15 to 30 days. This was years ago, before anyone was talking about it. Mm-hmm. Maybe beginning of COVID or something like that. It's advanced considerably since then.
Oh, it's crazy at this point what we can do with it. You know, everyone always says, oh, I don't want to be tracked. I don't want to be tracked. But your phone is the number one thing that you're being tracked with. You have all these apps that are open. They're all communicating with each other. They're keeping tabs on where you're at. Like, literally go through your location data in your phone and see which ones you're giving location data to, right? They're using that data. So and we'll get into this, but like you can use that data to do so many different things, including I can actually go back in time. And I know that sounds weird. I can go back in time. So we've got in Chicago this weekend, we've got the race, right? The NASCAR race that has been really kind of, I think it's in its third year, fourth year. If I wanted to target people that are watching that race, I could actually go back in time and say, all right, tell me all the people that were at that race last year, and let's target them with ads for this year's race. I could do that, right? And it's just because we're utilizing the data that is already being shared with these apps to then work with these companies to generate the advertising that's going to go out there because they know. I mean, they've tracked us. Okay, so I know that's a little creepy, but we're going to share today a bunch of different ways that you can utilize it that aren't as creepy, but you can see why different kind of companies and whatever else would use it.
What do you mean by 3x3?
3x3 is the smallest that I know. All right, it could be smaller at this point, but the smallest that we can go is a 3 foot by 3 foot area. So think of it in terms of, let's say you know somebody that you want to go target, and they're in an office building from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I could literally drop an ad on top of their office, and they would see the ad all the time. And I've seen people do this, right? I've actually had clients that have asked me to do these types of things, right? So drop it right on top of a single individual in a building, right? Now that's a very, very focused, you're trying to get one individual at that point to see your ad over and over and over again. And that's usually something that's a little bit more high net worth, right? It makes more sense. It's not going to make sense if you're only selling something that's $25, right? Because the price is going to just be astronomical. Because the smaller you get, the more defined you get, let's face it, we pay a little bit more of a premium. But what I would say is, as we get into this today, start asking yourself, how can I use this? And I think the number one thing that most people go to is, well, we've got competitors. So I want to drop it on top of my competitors. So let's say you compete with 5 other businesses within let's call it a 10-mile radius. You can literally create a geofence that goes all the way around their building, and you could say, all right, I want to target people that go into that building and then out of that building with my ad. And then you'll go, well, I'm probably got some waste. I'm targeting the people that work there. Well, you can even set it even farther and say, well, I want to target people that have only visited that place less than X number of times, right? So the people that walk in there every single day aren't going to get the ad, but the people that have walked in there once, twice, 3 times in a month will actually start to see the ad. So I've heard a variety of ways, and we do this ourselves, where we'll target competitors, we'll drop it right on top of them. Similar markets, could be a restaurant, right? So maybe it's an Italian restaurant, and we serve Italian. You're just basically just trying to get the awareness out there that they're there. So as they go in and they have Italian, you can actually set it to come back later. So maybe what's the average amount of times that people will go eat Italian every single week? Probably once. They're not going to go twice, right? So maybe you don't target them right away and you wait for the next week to target them. So there's all kinds of ways that we can manipulate the data to to kind of target human behavior. But what I'm saying is, from a competitor standpoint, why aren't they're already in there? They're already utilizing the space and buying from them. Why don't you target them? Just drop it on top. Because the funny part is your competitors are going to go, man, I'm seeing your ads everywhere. What's going on? And you just kind of laugh about it because you know you're targeting. You're literally just dropping it right on top of them.
What about dropping it right on top of your own location? Why would you do that?
Constant reminders, right? So again, going back to an Italian restaurant, the fact that we all say this, I'm hungry, where do you want to go? Right? If you continually see a company over and over and over again, that awareness is high, the consideration becomes high, because from a marketing mindset, we typically think of 2, 3, 4 different places that we're willing to go, right? In marketing, we call that the evoked set. It's the go-to places that we're always thinking about. So if you're constantly reminding people, they come in and I'm going to market to them for another 30 days, every time they go online, they're going to continually see your ad over and over and over again. It's a constant reminder. So when it comes up, I'm hungry, I need this type of service, right? I need an oil change, whatever it may be, they continually see you. So you're constantly in that evoked set. And then when they start to make that decision, it's you versus 1, 2, 3 other people, instead of them having to go search where they're going to eat, where they're going to get their oil change, or whatever it may be.
We already talked a little bit about the NASCAR event and how you would use that. Let's say somebody in Peru, Indiana, 2 hours away from here, they have a couple of big events during the summer, and say the local visitors authority wants to hit everybody that was at that event. Mm-hmm. And how would they do that, and when would they do that?
Yeah, so you got to have bodies that cross over the fence. So you would do it during the event. But I mean, if they have 2 events, and I apologize, I don't know what those events are, but
they're like surrounding around harvests.
Okay,
yeah.
So they have a couple different events, but they also have all of these other people or other towns around them that have events as well. Right? So why not go out there and target those other events to drive traffic in? So let's say their event is July 4th, and the next town over had an event June 1st, right? Why not target the June 1st event to get people excited to come over for the July 4th event, right? So start early. Don't start drastically early. I mean, you don't need to be 3 months out. Unless you're selling, unless you're talking about, like we were talking about NASCAR in Chicago, but just realize that, again, it's timing, it's location, you're dropping it on top of it. If you want to use that historical data, you could figure out who was at that location. I know Peru's a little small, but let's say we're talking about, the Air and Water Show in Chicago. I had run a campaign for the Air and Water Show. We basically dropped a geofence on top of it. We had branded Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash cars. We had all of this technology that was incorporated into that event. I could go back in time using some of my partners to target people that were there as well. So, we were using all of these different technologies, but it was a geofenced event, because we wanted those people to know to come over, to what we were selling, right? So I guess I guess you're not looking at it from the standpoint of timing or anything like that, but if you drop something on top of it, the idea is there's a reason you want those people to know who you are. Is it future? Is it current? Is it past? What is it? And are you targeting your customers? Or are you targeting other people's customers? Right? So let's get into, I've got a lawyer buddy of mine that I work with, and I start talking to him about geofencing. He's like, you can do that? So we started talking about a bunch of different things. And the very first thing I started asking, I said, yeah, we can do that. I'm like, should we target the court system? And he said, no, court system doesn't make sense because their phones don't go in to the courts. You can't take your cell phone in. He goes, however, the police stations would make sense. And I said, okay, interesting. So we literally set up geofences on top of all the local police stations, pulled out those that frequent the the location. So we don't want the police officers. We don't want the lawyers that are walking in there. We don't want the FedEx, the UPS, the Amazon drivers. We don't want them. But somebody that goes in there twice over a month or once over a month is probably a good candidate for a lawyer at that point, right? So we started doing that, and he saw a massive uptick. I think the first week when we threw it out there, we were doing meta ads and we were doing geo-targeted programmatic ads. He jumped 8,000 in a week. It works.
So, you got your competitors, your own location, of course, the events, the police station. You can go back in time, as we discussed. What about, there's probably somebody who owns a gym or anything, healthcare, chiropractors, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How would they use it? Yeah.
So if you're a chiropractor, where do you mess up your back? Sports and gyms, lifting, right? Doing all those types of things. So if you're a chiropractor, why aren't you targeting gyms? I mean, people get hurt at gyms all the time. My son came home yesterday. He went to the gym. He's like, I tweaked my back. I'm like, there you go, right? So, we've got that. You could do marriage counselors. You could target them. And why would you do that? Well, if you're a divorce lawyer, it makes sense. Or you're a real estate agent. Again, divorce typically leads to real estate agents as well, right? You got to sell assets and all the other stuff. So, think about how we work as human beings and why we go to certain locations for what we're doing, right? If it's a lawyer or it's a therapist or whatever it may be, there's something going on in their lives that maybe you might just have a service that you can sell them, but it's good to be right on top of that. So when that need does arise, they already know who you are.
So this is not on the agenda here, but we are recording along Indianapolis Boulevard in Hammond, Indiana, and across the street is a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Across the street is a Wingstop, which is wings and salads and so forth. And right in the middle of that is a Planned Parenthood. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to go into the political logistics of that, but I'm guessing that somehow that Planned Parenthood, which gets pretty good traffic, we have a window right out to see people coming and going. I'm guessing that that's geofenced by somebody.
Oh, I guarantee it, without a doubt. I mean, you've got, could be insurance companies, it could be doctors, it could be mental health. There's a million different ways that you can target a Planned Parenthood. I don't want to get into it either, but
that's probably a bad example. But now that I think about it, there's a decent amount of traffic that comes and goes in that, and there might be, mental health would be a good one. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here, go back to the lawyer across the street. I could target the lawyer with some kind of AI agents that are going to allow them to cut time, read documents faster, churn information out faster. The Wingstop, we could target the campus right behind it. You could target the sports games, right? So we have hockey games, we have basketball, we have soccer, we have baseball. I mean, you could target all of those different things at different times of the day. Not a problem. I mean, every business has some way that they can be targeted or that they can target others.
So Matt Hansen is the kind of the digital marketing guru around here, and he hates when I say that, but it is what it is. And I said that long before we did this podcast. So we kind of went straight to geofencing. What would we use it as? But go back to the basics of it. All right, I am, the HVAC guy, and I want to, and there's a home improvement show, mm-hmm. and I just want to target everybody who went to that home improvement show out in Tinley Park, okay? Mm-hmm. And there's going to be 4,000 people, okay? So what are the logistics of that? Who do I sign up with to do that? And then are they going to get ads just on Facebook? Or are they just going to get them on Twitter. They're going to get them on their phone. They're going to get them on their Roku while they're waiting to watch. I mean, where is that going to show up? I know you're going to have to explain programmatic within that.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's kind of two different ways that you can do it. You can do social, right? So we talked about Meta and TikTok and all of them, and you can do a radius around a location. Depending upon the account, the history of the account, and what you spend, you get different radiuses. So I've seen it down to a mile, but most people will see probably about a 10-mile radius when they do that. So when you drop a pin right on top of that conference that you're talking about, most often you'll have like a 10-mile radius for those that don't spend a ton of money. Okay, so that's social. But you can also, there's a way around it. You can drop that pin, but then you can say include this area and drop it. But then you can create other pins that say exclude this area, and you can create kind of this circle perimeter around the original circle that you have, and you start to bring in the area. Now the price goes up a little bit because you're doing some manipulation of it, but you can actually shrink it down a little bit more. All right, so think of it as one main circle where you want to target, but then the outsides of that circle start to get covered with excludes, and it takes it in, right? So you could do it that way, but you mentioned programmatic. So programmatic is basically you need to find a vendor. One of my former students back in the day is like the national sales director at a company called Simplify. And, they're great. And we've worked with them. I've worked with a bunch of others as well. But, the idea is this, that you can take that information, that address, and give them the address, or you can do it yourself. Like I do it myself when I go in there. And you'll drop it in there, and then you can manipulate the lines to go around the building or include the parking lot. And you could say, okay, only run ads to people that walk in this geofence during this time. You could do that, right? Very simple. You could set it up for how many days you want the ads to run, and all those types of things. Me personally, I did one campaign, which was one of my most favorite campaigns. I targeted 100 car dealerships, and we basically dropped it on top of them and said to them, the ad said, your dealership's just been hacked. And it said, find out how. And that's all it said, right? So it was a picture of a car. It looked like a car ad. And it said, your dealership had just been hacked. Find out how. You clicked on that and it came over and it showed you how we use geofencing to target their dealership and how they should be using that on their competitors to drive traffic back over to them. And it was funny because everyone was calling me and going, loved how you did that. Like, it got my attention. And we actually set it so it wouldn't, because a lot of people out there are probably going, well, yeah, their customers are going to see this and think they got hacked. No, we actually set the number of days, the frequency of the amount of times they had to go into the geofence in a month. So we weren't targeting people that came in 3 times or 4 times or 5 times over a month. We were targeting the people that were there every day, or 50, I think it was 15 days in a month, right? So we were targeting the employees, the senior leadership and all that, so they can be like looking at this going, what's going on here? I loved that campaign. It was so much fun. So tell the small to medium size business owner or marketing person where their ads are going to show. Yeah, so with programmatic, the nice thing is you can do just an image, typical image ad, or you can do a video ad. And those ads will populate across the web. So it can be, and I always say this, everyone goes to check the weather, right? So you have your favorite mobile app, or maybe you have a website that you go to, and you'll see ads there. And those ads are programmatic ads. So the way we look at this is there are web publishers or app publishers that have areas for ads to go. So back in the day when I first started in digital, you used to have to call each website and buy placement on it and all this. Now there's just kind of this window that they put in their websites and in their mobile apps, and it filters in from things like Trade Desk, which is a programmatic solution, right? And it feeds into the website to the mobile app. So your ad will go everywhere, and you can kind of dictate where you want it to be, right? So I don't want it alongside sexual content or violent content or things like that, you can actually say, I don't want it there. I want it in sports. I want it in fashion. I want it in arts. I want it in food. You can do all of those different types of things. And then you can set the geofence, the radius, whatever you want to do with it. But there's so many different options. Like I said, you could do pictures, right? Typical static imagery, or you can do video. And even with video, you could start to show up in streaming services, right? I don't even want to get into OTT and all those types of things. But the idea is that you can put this information out there and use one of these programmatic solutions to drive traffic or drive your ads out there to the individuals within a certain area. So when you're seeing an ad and you're online, that's probably, I would say 99.9% coming from a programmatic platform, whether you're watching Hulu or you're on, Weather Channel's app or anything like that. Those are all programmatic solutions that are serving ads to your general vicinity. So they have outlined that they want to be in your town, your city, wherever it is you are, and that's why you're seeing it. So that's how it works. It's really kind of a window out there on the internet that your ad is then placed into so people can see it. But you don't have to physically call every website. Like you're never going to call the Weather Channel and say, hey, can I get $100 in ads to put on the Weather Channel app for the next 3 months, right? It's not going to happen that way. So you use a programmatic solution, and that's what we're talking about today.
He's Matt Hansen. I hope we didn't scare you off with that word where we started up in the beginning, geofencing. But you run a business. You're marketing a business. You like this stuff. You got to know about it. And that is might be your first exposure to that concept. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thank you. See you next time.
Till next time, see you guys later.
The Mastering Local Marketing Podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing.